He said, Peter, I'd like you to become the national campaign manager for UKIP. I said, what?
But they're awake. I can remember the choir songs, man. They had choir songs about jihad, singing songs so that their listeners, so that they can get into their communities around the country of what's coming with Islam.
Yeah.
Mad, really.
AfD in Germany, with FPO in Austria, with Marine Le Pen pulling top in France, and country by country. So there's a lot of hope in Europe, and that just needs to
swing over here.
Yeah.
I thought if I get caught in here and locked in, it's game over. I ain't getting out. I'm dead. Yeah, I'm dead.
We've now done 210 different guests, probably getting near 550 interviews, and I just look back at the names.
And as I'm walking through Parliament and MPs and Lords are coming over, because have you met my friend Tommy? Yeah, and their faces are like, what the fuck is Tommy Robinson doing in front of me in Parliament? And he has continuously been on his own, calling out grooming, asking questions of the government. His phrase was, can we talk about Islam?
Yeah. And the answer is no to that question.
How is she a superstar? She's a geezer. How is she a superstar? Like, it's the biggest lie ever told. How is it a superstar?
You get your picture, thumbs up, and you go, and you're sitting thinking, wow, what was that? I just met the most powerful man in the world.
Information covered up, censorship, corruption. The mainstream media have proven itself to be untrustworthy. I'm here to give a platform for debate, for truth, for open discussion. I'm introducing you to my podcast, Silenced with Tommy Robinson.
Who exactly is Tommy Robinson, or Stephen Yaxley-Lennon?
With the English Defence League, the EDL.
The problem is with Islamic
The English far-right Islamophobic activists.
Since then, there's been organised protests across the country in London, Manchester, Leeds. People in their thousands are marching for Robinson's release.
There is no such thing in this country as a Muslim.
Free Tommy Robinson!
Welcome to my latest edition of Silence, my podcast. I'm joined today with a gentleman I met many years ago who's become a friend and who, has progressed from behind the scenes to the front of the scenes. Yeah? And that is Peter McIlvenna. So Peter, nice to meet you.
I prefer to be behind the scenes.
Because you used to be behind the
It's
scenes.
much more interesting.
Yeah.
No one knows you.
You never had your face out.
No, never.
Never had your face out. I think we first met, through the meeting with Lord Pearson?
No, it was we actually met in a church.
Which one?
You and Kev.
Okay, that long
Katie.
ago. Okay.
The two of you.
Yeah. Two
little kids. I remember it well, against the wall, two of you, not knowing where you were, what you were doing.
What year was that?
16 years ago.
2017. That was 2009. It would have been the start of the... Is that yeah. Wow.
Because Colin Dye was a senior minister, and he
quite,
had heard stuff.
Yeah.
Tommy, EDL, and he wanted to chat to you and get to know what's happening, which is quite unusual for any church.
This was a church in London.
Yeah.
Colin Dye, and you know, we all think the church are asleep. Yeah. I've always thought the church were asleep. This was 2009. We start the English Defence League. Momentum's flying. We get invited to London. You set that meeting up then, yeah?
Yeah.
That's the first time. Wow. You set that meeting up. We went to meet the church minister.
Yeah.
And they weren't asleep. They actually had choir songs talking about jihad, singing about jihad, if I remember rightly. They gave us songs that they're singing through the churches. Yep. I was shocked. And then when I said to him, where are you? He goes, you're fighting it with the sword, we're fighting it with a pen.
Yeah.
It really took me back.
And that was when you connected probably with as well.
That was.
Yeah.
And again, so Peter, you were instrumental in a lot of this. No. You were the little hookup. People been watching this, yeah.
But it's true, because on that it was, you're coming into a church farm, but the church actually understood the clash that Islam was having with the freedoms in the West. And then a ex-Sharia court judge probably fled for his life because he became a Christian all the way across Europe. And he knows the Quran back to front, inside out. In Arabic, he quotes it in Arabic and then in English. So that gives legitimacy. He understands Sharia law, he understands the Quran, he understands what is meant, and he just unpacks it. And he's one of the few that we have in the West who really understands it, has lived it, became a Christian, realised the error, and then had to flee.
He was an advisor to Lord Pearson, an advisor to members of government.
Yeah, Lord Pearson, Gerard Batten, honestly, connections are phenomenal. You get to meet this small, unassuming, quiet guy, and then all these connections. Like, I would say that's because God has made those connections.
Because he's Christian, and you'd say God. Well, when you talk of, let me explain. I don't know if the first time you set that meeting up when we went to London. Remember, we're just running an organisation, English Defence League, around the street. Next thing, here's a church leader. Next thing, here's a Saudi Sharia judge.
Well, I don't know where he's from.
No,
he's never said.
Nobody can't. Okay, here's an Arabic speaking.
Somewhere.
Here's an Arabic speaking. And do you know when I went, me and Kev had a meet in the first meeting with him.
Yeah.
And he said, Tommy, let me sit you down. Do you want me to tell you what's happening and how it's happening? I said, go on. And I thought I was committed. I come out of that meeting terrified. Yeah? I come out of it like, we've got to stop it. Like, that's all I thought is, we have to stop this. Because what he laid down was the foundations and the plans for Europe with Islam. And how long ago the plan was hatched for Europe, how long they've been trying to conquer Europe, and how they will infiltrate every system in order to implement Islam upon Europe. And what the future, and he gave us a vision of the plan and what it's going to look like. And at the first, remember, I was only young, so I was 25, just started the English Defence League, coming out, protesting about issues in my hometown. That was a real awakening for me.
It gives an understanding. You're involved, you see the problem, and you're concerned because the impact it's having on communities here. But then comes in and says, actually, this is what's happened over the last 10 years. This is with the finance, the food, the politics, this is how it all fits together. And you think, crap, that's why this is happening. And unless you understand what's deeper underneath, what the basis of it is, then you can't actually tackle it.
Because he said, who owns every port in the UK? Who owns 40% of Sainsbury's? Who owns 40% of Barclays? Who owns the stock? Who owns this? Who owns that? And he listed everything. And I went, who owns it?
I know.
And he went, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Islam. And there was so much he gave me he said the major cities, he gave it all. And as I said to Kevin again, we were dedicated with the English Defence League, but I think that's really probably did set us off on our understanding that we have to stop this. More, Peter, so that goes way back, man, because that goes way back. That was the start of it all. It's your fault.
And then you get dropped into that, which was probably the largest black majority church in the UK at the time. I mean, when I started going there 21 years ago when I first moved to London, it was 17,000.
Wow.
So, and I come from a traditional Baptist church in Northern Ireland, monoculture, 100% white. Then you come there, and I kind of thought, this is like I've seen in the movies. Just the whole thing is moving. Everyone's moving.
Well, as in everyone's singing and everyone's...
Yeah. But it's that kind of American, kind of deep south Pentecost, black Pentecost you see on TV, and to be a part of that. And it's been phenomenal dropping people into that, because if the church is educated and informed, then it actually can be a proper voice in the community, in the world. And that church has always been engaging with the community, understanding the issues, getting involved in those, and Islam was a big part of that journey for the church.
Am I right that he wrote a book called Unmasking Satan?
Yep. Yes.
And what he told us at the time was, do you understand what Satan is? I remember.
Yeah.
We were talking about Islam.
Evil and the impact in society.
It's Islam.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the books. Wow. Peter, I want to go back now. We'll get into all of this, but I want to go back to understanding who is Peter McIlvenna. So how did I get there? We know how I got there. How did you get there? How did you get to sit around that table with these people? How did you get to sit around? I know you work with Steve Bannon. Last week you met President Trump. Yeah. Lots of these things. But where were you born? Where'd you grow up? Northern Ireland? So born in Belfast. Yeah. Grew up. My dad was a Baptist pastor, so we were moving around. We grew up in Dublin, Limerick. So born in the north, and then first 9 years in the south, then back up north again. So 18, I wanted to study aerospace because I know. So that's another connection we have, aircraft. So because you fly. Yeah. I went out on an aeroplane. Yeah. It was mad. Yeah, good. We got the engine started. I'm sitting in this plane and the engine wouldn't start. I'm thinking, why am I doing this? Bloody filming it. I think, no. Yeah, it was a cool day. But I think that was back in I was hungover as well. Very badly hungover. This was back when I was drinking. You were just giggling, laughing at the back filming. I couldn't stop. This isn't good. Then we did a piece to camera after it. But
So I wanted to study aerospace, and then went over to Farnborough, which is the centre of the aerospace industry in the UK, just West London, and came over and started then came over for an HND, Aerospace
What's the HND?
Studies, Higher National Diploma.
Okay.
So came over to do that, and then within 3 weeks, they actually said, well, we're restructuring, we're going to put you in the degree course. So they did that. And then pure maths just caught me up. I could not, mechanical maths I can do, I can see it, I can visualize, understand it. Pure maths is just theoretical, and I could not grasp that. So I got dumped back in the HND. So I came out with an HND, thinking actually I want to turn that into a degree later.
What did you want to do in aerospace?
Fly.
You want to fly, okay.
Oh, fly. So, but then I thought, I was very involved in the Christian Union. I was president of a Christian Union, and our region in the UK, all the Christian unions in like South Central were linked to Bulgaria. So every region is linked to a Christian student movement across Europe. So I went to Bulgaria for a summer camp, loved it, thought actually I want to do 2 years there. So I'll go there.
What are you doing there?
So Bible studies, English language courses, English language camps, just tons of stuff in the universities. So based in Sofia in Bulgaria, the capital, and doing that for 2 years. I thought I'll do that, I'll then come back, I'll finish off a degree, I'll get a job with an airline, all good. Come back, 9/11 happens. I was like, shit, that's the end of any career. And I had applied for scholarships, applied for interviews, got interviews with 2 airlines, and then on the day, I was in Belfast and we were watching it on TV screen in one of the shopping arcades. The next day, every airline cancelled their pilot programs, and they didn't restart them for another probably 3-4 years because they didn't know what was happening. The issue was 9/11, the aerospace industry. The issue was whether they could actually get insurance. So fuel costs and all that was irrelevant. Actually, it was whether any insurance company will insure an airline, because no one knew what was happening. So because of that, I thought, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do, and step back. Actually, just a plug for, we've just had Noor bin Laden on.
You've had Noor bin Laden on? I'd love to get Noor bin Laden on.
She's so good. I had 50 minutes, and it was great fun together. Great fun, and she's also been in war room. I've seen her.
Where is she? She's in Europe?
Yep, she's in Europe. She's in Switzerland.
Yeah, Switzerland, yeah. Okay.
But that's weird, talking to someone, Osama bin Laden's niece, I think, and then chatting full-on MAGA.
She's fully outspoken. She's she's great on all the points.
She's so good, and her Substack is so good. She goes through these, and so I'll put you in touch. You need to chat to Noor. She's phenomenal. But no, so just that on the 9/11 connection, and then I got to meet now my wife. So she's Bulgarian. So we're over there. She came back over, went back to Northern Ireland with my parents. Hated it. It's car-only culture, so you're stuck there. If you're from abroad, you're kind of stuck there. She saw some buses getting burned, some riots happening in Belfast. She goes, I'm with a helicopter sitting above our house for a couple of nights. I need to get out of here. So we'd been to Kensington Temple, KT, once before. Something like. She said, and we thought, let's go to London. So we went to London. That was 2002, 2001, 2002, 2002. So we came to London, went to KT as a church, and got involved, and then that was London. Started working for KT a year later.
Which sect of Christianity? Protestant?
So I'm Baptist, so Protestant, very traditional.
Do you remember Pastor McConnell?
Yes, I've been to church a few times.
So I met McConnell.
Oh, did you meet him?
I went to Belfast. I met him in his house. He invited me to his house before he died.
He's firebrand.
So he was a firebrand. Do you know how much they feared him? He was the head of the Protestant church, he had the biggest church in Belfast, biggest church in Northern Ireland, biggest following. Obviously, at this time, you had the IRA, you had the UDA. He was a very strong man, very respected man. They went for him on hate speech, because he spoke about Islam. So to set an example of the power they have, they went for him to take him down. That's when I met him. I flew over and met him, and he was a firebrand, and he was an amazing man. Yeah, I met him in his house. And then sadly he passed away. That
online communications bill, if you say anything that offends us,
anything that offends us. He mentioned that Islam was satanic.
Yeah.
They went for him.
Bring it on.
Smashed him through the courts, take down the church, to end his reign in the church. because he was one of the last people leading churches
Yeah, yeah.
who was outspoken. Yeah, man. So sorry, I butted you in there. Because I met him. I wondered if you met him, if you knew him in Northern Ireland.
I mean, we used to pass the church all the time because it was just by the motorway going in Belfast. A huge church, phenomenal. So yeah, it's transferred over, but
And probably woke now. No.
well, I probably
They've got their grips into all the churches. They've got rid of all the people. I always say churches have been infiltrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because anyone who stood up was gone. They made sure.
Yeah.
Through the church system that
Yeah,
they're using the churches, I believe, to push narratives and
Oh,
objectives
100%.
of Marxism. Okay. So yeah.
So that was London, working then, King's Temple, and because I was just full into news, current affairs, politics, I mean, that was what I enjoyed. Apart from the aircraft stuff, that's what I enjoyed. So when I started working at different departments, and then for the senior minister, I just started giving a one-page briefing every week. 3 stories, a paragraph on each, and just started sending that to him. I thought it was interesting. It would help the church pray on a Sunday, maybe for issues happening. And 3 weeks later, he comes out and goes, "Peter, where are you getting this stuff?"
What was the stuff he was writing about?
Just 3 general issues,
Okay.
just headline and then a paragraph on a range of issues that actually the church should get engaged and focused on, so they're involved in the world and not just within the church. I said, just find it all over. And he goes, "I need you doing this for me full time." "Okay, Monday let's talk, and I want you doing this for me full time." Okay, so I became a research assistant to the senior minister, probably the only one in the UK.
Okay.
Just by saying, look, we need to get engaged in this.
And was it engaging in the stories you were talking about? Were they about Islamisation?
It just mixed everything.
A mixture of everything. Okay.
Everything.
Everything that's affecting Britain.
Yep.
Yeah, or the world.
That the congregation should be aware
The
of, so they can
congregation,
pray and get involved.
So things that you can get them praying and educate the congregation on certain issues that are.
Yep.
Okay.
So it was doing that, and then that was because we had about 60, 70 other churches that were linked to the main church. So we gave that out to the pastors as prayer points, got the congregation involved, and then we set up vocational groups. So those who were involved in education, those who worked in finance, those who worked in the health industry, actually we had separate groups. So we say, well, how as a church can we help you in your vocational profession? And that was great. We had 8 different kind of groupings set up of people. So it wasn't they come to church on Sunday and then you go home and that's your done. Actually, it's how as a church can connect with where you are and equip you so you actually can be a Christian where you are. So we did that, and then Islam came, and that was spoke at our Bible school, because back in the day there were 100 people at full-time Bible school. It was one of the major ones in the UK. I was speaking, and the senior minister Colin Dye said, "There's speaking with the Bible school students. Could you bring him up? Would like to meet him." So he was there with a pastoral team of like 12, 15 people. So I went down and said, I remember vividly, he looked at his watch, and I'd never met this guy, just this, this imam looking bloke.
Yeah,
That's what
little figure, big beard.
I know.
But fire when he if he went into Arabic,
Yeah.
your hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and then he goes to English, and he has an aura about him.
Oh, 100%. And whenever he quotes a Quranic verse in Arabic, there is silence. You feel that oppression even in the language.
The aggression.
Yeah.
The aggression.
So I went down, brought him up because I'm really busy. I've got 5 minutes. Okay, come on up. The leadership team want to see you. So he came up an hour later, and you can imagine.
He's going to have done to them what he done to me.
Exactly. So the first time you sat with him,
Colin Dye.
and it was an hour of silence, and your jaws on the floor.
Yes, mine was.
Wow. So everyone would say, "What do we need to do?" So then I got involved in running kind of weekends away and evenings in the church. We had lots of things. Jay Smith came then later on. We had 10 sessions with him on a Friday evening.
What year was this?
Oh, this was 14 years ago, 15. Because I got my pilot's license at the same time as that was on, because I had to miss 2 of them. I remember being away. But he was reaching out to Muslims, was his series. And in the church, you had 750 people every Friday night for 10 weeks, just wanting to understand what this was. No other church was doing that. So
They'd all be too scared to do that.
They'd be too scared.
And now it would be not that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
God, so the church were awake. Well, Colin Dye's.
yeah, he was a visionary.
Yeah.
He understood this issue. So that was in KT, and I was there on staff for nearly 10 years, just doing...
KT is Kensington
Temple.
Yeah.
Sorry, the church, yeah.
Yeah. Big church, London.
And then after then it was I worked for Christian Concern for 2.5 years on their campaign team, which is a Christian lobbying organisation. And then connected me with Gerard Batten. We'd gone to Brussels to launch the Charter Muslim Understanding.
The Charter Muslims, so this was, wrote a little book which was getting Muslim imams in Europe to agree that certain verses in the Quran are no longer applicable. The ones that call for murder and rape. And if we can get them to sign this, but none of them would sign it. Anywhere in Europe, you could not find one imam that would sign to say that these verses are no longer applicable, because they are still applicable, being the point. And that's what Charter of Understanding. When you read the Charter of Understanding, it's totally fair. It's totally reasonable for a democratic society to have peace and have harmony amongst all cultures and communities. This makes sense, but not one of them. Anywhere.
Of course, the accusation is you're Islamophobic if you say, we want you to agree to a way of life here in the UK.
And the idea was trying to get the imams to agree to teach that these verses of war and jihad are not applicable now in Great Britain.
So it's given a challenge. You come up with an Islam that's acceptable, and they can't, because they cannot cut those out, because they will have their head cut off if they do that.
They're not allowed to.
You can't moderate it. It's that. So, meeting Gerard, then going over the European Parliament, I remember in Strasbourg, and wow, I remember bumping into you at things in Brussels as well.
In the EU Parliament?
What was the, So you were there, Paul Golding, I remember one time when you were there.
I was there, I was invited to give a speech. I was invited to give a speech there, and I gave a speech when I was leading the English Defence League, and that's where I met Ken, the Swedish journalist.
Oh yeah.
I'm meeting him tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm in Sweden tomorrow. And I met him there. Was you there as well? Yeah.
I think Sam was there.
Sam was there as well, yeah. I forget the group who organised the event. It was in Parliament.
It was a weird...
I think I was hungover.
Those are your best moments, Tommy.
Just dropped my way through the first few years. But
but then it was in the politics thing that I knew Gerard, and then I worked in City Hall.
What about Bjorn?
What about Bjorn?
Can we talk about Bjorn?
Of course, yeah.
Because again,
he's no longer with us, but yes.
Again, so we start the English Defence League, and we get invited to all these different meetings. You know,
and Bjorn is kind of one of the figures involved in all that.
And I get invited by this Canadian who lands and says, "You just flew in a private jet." Yeah?
So cool.
And he seemed to be, I could never work out who he was. I was thinking, well, who are you?
No.
Yeah? And I remember he brought once 5 senators from the United States government to meet us.
Yeah.
And this is why, so when we're running the English Defence League, and we're labelled as this little group of street fucks, which is what the media kept wanting to do. Behind closed doors, I know, we're having meetings with highly influential people who are all singing off the same hymn sheet as us. They were scared of us. And he brought 5 from Nashville, Tennessee. He brought them over, and then he brought Andy Miller.
Who I've never met, but but I've heard all about him.
So again, because he's interesting. He's brought this bloke over called Andy Miller, who stood up and said that he had the 2 top floors of the Twin Towers, if I'm right. He owned the 2 top floors of the Twin Towers. He had hundreds of employees who were all killed in the attack. And when they died in that attack, he said he had to know where the hate come from. So he picked up the Quran and he started looking at the Quran. And very quickly he became apparent of where this has come from. Whether we now believe it, what's gone on there. But and then it set him off on a life of trying to tackle this. He's a very successful. Do you know what's mad? From that meeting, because if you're religious, you'll believe in God puts these things together.
Of course.
We had that meeting in a little Christian office in London in 2010. My mum's diagnosed with cancer. She's very ill. I haven't spoke to the bloke since that meeting.
Bjorn or Andy?
Andy Miller.
Okay.
I then get contacted by Andy Miller. I am the biggest funder of cancer research at Massachusetts Hospital. I've seen your mum has cancer. I've seen your video online. Tommy, I want to link your doctors up in whatever hospital. Which hospital is your mum going to? I said, Adam Brooks. She said, at the minute, what you do in the UK is you trial which chemotherapy might work. Yeah, you don't know what's going to work. Yeah, we have advanced that here in this hospital in the United States. We know what's going to work. Yeah, so I then sat down. I went with my mum. I sat down with the doctor in Adam Brooks. I said, listen, this American doctor, I've got the name of an American doctor, I need to link you up with them, they're going to take my mum's biopsy and they're going to do this for my mum. And he said, and how much are they charging you for that? Yeah. I said, they're charging nothing. They're charging nothing at all. Yeah. and I went home to my mum, and my mum was seriously, I said, Mum, I know you moaned about the English Defence League at that, yeah? I said, but at the minute, some dude in America, who I met in an office in London, has offered full cancer treatment for free for you, yeah, to target your cancer.
Yeah.
And she was just waiting. She was waiting to have an operation, a huge operation, 8-hour operation, a serious operation that could have risked a lot. But she was already penciled in for that. So yeah, I linked the two doctors up, and that was from that meeting.
Wow.
That was from that meeting. And I said, and Bjorn, as I said, because I always wondered, who's Bjorn? Yeah? And I kept thinking, who's he? Who are these people, man? Some bloke in the first meeting had about 7 or 8 degrees. I'm like, who are you, bro? But yeah, you were instrumental in all that then. And
so Bjorn, another connection
Bjorn,
you have. So I'm sitting at home in my little flat on the balcony. I get a call. It's Bjorn. Hi, Bjorn. So chatting, he goes, Peter, have you ever heard of Ezra Levant? And I said, yeah, he's like that news guy, isn't he? Rebel. Yeah. Would you like to meet him? I'd love to meet him. Okay, he's got an event coming up this weekend. This was the Monday club. He's got an event coming up this weekend. I'd like to arrange for you to meet him. I said, okay, well, is it close by? I'm not really doing anything this weekend, so I could certainly. And he goes, yeah, it's in Toronto. I said, Bjorn, I can't go to Toronto. He goes, why not? Have you got something on? No, I don't. He goes, okay. Tell me what time you're going to land at, and I'll sort you all out. Give me your ticket details. Don't worry, I'll cover you. I'll sort it out. Check with your family, see if you can do that. Okay, so wife gets back and says, I'm going to Toronto on Friday. Is that okay? She goes, what is this? What? Okay, so we arrange it. I get the flights. I message Bjorn. He goes, cool. Just come outside the terminal. I'll be there. So I land. I go out. He's there. Picks me up. We go because he's a pilot.
He kept talking about private jets. And do you know, my thing is still, because I still don't know, it seemed like he was pivotal in the What I didn't know is before the English Defence League, there was a counter-jihad movement of lots of like-minded intellectuals around Europe who were in constant discussions, but they were using blogs or vlogs and blogs to discuss Islam and the dangers of it. Bjorn seemed to be the man that interlinked them all.
Yeah.
That's what he seemed to be, a connector.
Well,
close with Gert Wilders, if I remember rightly, was he?
Yeah. Oh, close with Gert, yeah.
Close with Gert, close with lots of the instrumental people.
Yeah.
But I still never could work out, who are you? Like, what do you actually do, mate? Like, and I only got a few. And I used to have these regular meetings. Whenever they'd come to London, we'd travel down.
Yeah.
And then in the end, I think we just said, no, Kev said, I said, mate, we're in the trenches here. Can you help us out? Like, can you support us? He said, we'll buy you some laptops or something like that.
Yeah.
I was thinking, mate, we've got a movement. Everyone's ready. We're on the street, but we ain't got no. Yeah, we were struggling.
Well, I know, and you get some people who make the connections, and other people will provide finance, and they're often different. But I mean, he brought me over. I met. We landed, and he goes, "We're going to do spot of flying. Is that okay?" Okay. So his plane is over in the US.
You love flying.
So we go in and fly for an hour and a half over Toronto as the sun is setting by the CN Tower, and it's just a beautiful. Just the sun's come down. It's pink everywhere. It's like, holy shit. And then the next day we go to the conference. Katie Hopkins is speaking.
Okay.
So she's the keynote speaker. Bjorn connects me with Ezra because this is Lord Pearson's chief of staff, and he knows Tommy, and Tommy has just got a court case. Now that doesn't narrow it down. I know that could be any one of a billion. And Ezra goes, "We need him up. We need him up." So I'm all suited and booted because I didn't know what to wear. So Ezra gets me up and lets me talk for 5-7 minutes on the stage at the Rebel annual conference, telling what's happened. So then that's my relationship with Ezra. Yeah. And every time he comes past, catch up with him. We've had him on the show before. But yeah, Bjorn was a connector, and he would just, you need to meet so-and-so, I'll make it happen. Yeah. Get a ticket, I'll cover you, I'll sort you out. And just that generosity, and sleeping on his couch for 2 nights in Toronto. I just looked after you, so, and now he's passed away.
Yeah, he passed away sadly.
Yeah.
And okay, so you've you're in the church, you're in a London church.
Yep.
They're awake. I can remember the choir songs, man. They had choir songs about jihad, singing songs so that their listeners, so that they can get into their communities around the country of what's coming with Islam.
Yeah, yeah.
Mad, really. Mad to think about now, where we're at now, because that would never happen from
No.
churches. But you're there, and then what happens? Because is the next step getting involved with Lord Pearson? How do you get involved with Lord Pearson from being within the church?
Okay, so the next step is working for Christian Concern. So
Okay.
2.5 years doing that, working in their campaign
Christian
department.
Concern are solicitors in London who protect Christians.
Solicitors, lobby organisation, education organisation, getting Christians engaged in all the big issues, a lot of legal battles
If
against
Christians
all
can't
the
bear
gender
across.
stuff, Islam stuff,
Yeah.
Christian persecution, all of that. So yeah, they're fully on, and they've been there for 10, 12, 13, no, they've been there 20 years, 20 years. Run by Andrew Williams, who's a firebrand. So it was actually Sam had connected me with Lord Pearson, and also Alan Craig had connected me with Lord Pearson.
Alan was cool.
Alan was cool.
Alan was very cool. Alan, if you ever get a chance, if you're watching this, I haven't spoken to you for years. He was a very.
He's a great guy.
So Alan Craig is a.
It's a trip down memory lane.
Can I call him? Yeah, I know. Can I call him an elderly gentleman?
Yeah.
He's an elderly gentleman.
mid-70s.
A devout Christian, a very respectable man, a very well-spoken man, a very educated man. Alan, when all the stuff's going on with the transgenderism and the education in schools, I watch what's happening in Birmingham with the Muslims outside the schools. The Muslims are all getting called extremists. I then look at the person behind the education programme for transgenderism and LGBTQ+ within Birmingham. And we find a statement from them 5 years prior saying they want to smash heteronormativity. So men being with women, the family, that's what they want to attack. They've then got in control of the education system of Birmingham, and all of a sudden, through the schools, these books, they're polluting the children's minds. Now, the Muslim parents are standing up to it.
Yeah.
I've watched it all, they're getting called extremists. So I speak with Alan and say, Alan, I want to go and speak to this Muslim man who's organising this.
Yep.
He lives in Sparkbrook or Small Heath or Allen Rock, one of the biggest Muslim populated areas of Birmingham. But I say, Alan, will you come with me? So he knows I'm not there in aggression, because Alan comes across very well.
Yeah.
So we knock on this Muslim gentleman's door, he opens the door, he's like, Tommy Robinson. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing at my front door? Yeah? I said, mate, I come in peace. Yeah? I'm watching, I come as a father, not as an activist, not against Islam. I come as a father. I witness you as a father.
Yeah.
I think we can agree on a lot of things that are happening here in the education system. I want to offer my support to you because you're going to get sidelined as extremists. We go into this gentleman's house. His wife cooks us curry. We don't see his wife. It's a very weird situation. Yeah? She puts her hand around the door with the food because we're not allowed to see her.
Wow.
So I just got his hand coming round, but the family were ever so nice, ever so respectful. I sat and had all these conversations. So we go out of the house afterwards, get in the car, I get spotted by Muslims, and Alan told you this.
No?
And they're spotted by Muslims, we're in the middle, and there's all traffic, and then there's more of them coming, yeah?
That's never happened,
I say, Alan, I'm going to have to do what I want to do here, yeah? I just want to know you're right with it.
Yeah.
And he goes, Tommy, because by this point they're following us, yeah? By this point he goes, you do what you got to do. I said, put your fucking seatbelt on, yeah? I'm on the wrong side of the road, across the roundabout, because they're coming from everywhere. I've got some 75-year-old Christian folks sitting there just like, I'm going up pavements. Because I thought, if I get caught in Sparkbrook by these men, there's groups of them coming through. I thought, if I get caught in here and locked in, it's game over. I ain't getting out, I'm dead, yeah? I'm dead. So we're flying away, and he just looked at me. I said, have you ever been in it? Afterwards, I said, have you ever been in any sort of situation like this, Alan? He's like, no, I haven't, but you've done very well. But yeah, that was Alan Craig as well. Well, I met him through you as well then.
Yeah.
Wow, you're the connector, not beyond.
Things rub off on each other, but it was Alan. So Alan is with Lord Pearson. They're meeting up because Alan used to be an advisor to Baroness Cox. He worked as her advisor for like 10 years, and then he got to know Lord Pearson well. So Alan was with Lord Pearson. Lord Pearson said, I had a researcher and a PA, and they've resigned. They finished, and I don't know what to do. And Alan said, what about Peter McIlvenna? And Lord Pearson, oh yes, because I had met him twice before, once to drive Marine Le Pen around London when her and Gert came over. Wow. That was a crazy story. But Lord Pearson had been involved in organising that.
Was you involved in getting Gert over then?
A little bit, but not mainly. It was others, but I got pulled into it.
Can we talk about, was you knowledgeable about at the time what Lord Ahmed said?
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Go on, tell me what happened. I know what happened, but I think the public should be aware of it.
So this, Lord Pearson bringing over Gert, and he got to know Gert.
Gert Wilders
very
is now
well.
the Dutch Prime Minister who's been elected in, at the time he was leader of the Freedom
Yeah, but I
Party.
don't know if he's been elected. Yeah, he
vote.
won the vote, but they'll do everything to try and stop
Yeah,
him.
he's still not been. Yeah, they still haven't formed the coalition, but he won the vote, and the predictions are, if they go to a vote again, he's going to win even more seats.
Yeah.
I believe people are fed up now, and they want him because he's not. They're not going to give him a chance to lead. But he's the largest party in Holland.
It's true, because the Dutch system, you've got 120, I think, MPs, and they have around 15 different parties.
He won 47. He won 47 MPs, though.
He did, but it's just the amount of small parties that have to work together is just a recipe for disaster.
And they're refusing to work with him because he's an Islamophobe.
Yeah, of course.
So
But wait till the European elections happen and the whole game changes in
Yeah,
European Parliament.
because it's going to be all
It'll
of us.
be majority centre
Majority
right,
populist party, centre right across the whole of Europe.
Yeah.
That's what's coming in the next European elections. Philip de Winter hopefully wins Belgium elections.
Yes.
It's really moving. Things are shifting. Don't feel at home sad. Things are really shifting politically.
No, because if you get in sitting in the UK and are depressed, you actually look at what's happening
It's
every
moving.
single with AfD in Germany, with FPO in Austria, with Marine Le Pen pulling top in France, and country by country by country. So there's a lot of hope in Europe, and that just needs to
Swing over here.
Yeah, but so Lord Ahmed had said, I think if Gert came, that he would have 10,000 Muslims
Take over.
demonstrating
He said
and
take over.
Yes, I think, but it's and then he went further and said take over.
He threatened the government and said, if you allow Gert Wilders into this country, we will have 10,000 Muslims take over Parliament. At which point the government banned Gert Wilders.
They did. And they're doing exactly the same thing at the moment
The
with the
Ants,
pro-Palestinian.
everyone,
Yeah, so it's full circle. They haven't learned.
What year was this? Gert Wilders
I don't
film?
know.
12 years ago?
I need a timeline.
No, it's about 12 or 13 years ago. He created a film called Fitna, which is showing the truth about Islam. That's what he wanted to come and show. And the government were threatened by Lord Ahmed, who ended up being a paedophile, did he? Like the rest of them, probably. I think, allegedly. But and he threatened the government. The government succumbed to the threats and banned Gert Wilders.
Because I remember I came to Parliament and I was kind of involved in that. And then there was another one where we were showing fitting in Parliament, and I ended up being the one to sort out the technical side and to play fitting. I'm thinking, do I really want to be the one to press play on this?
Because this is why they want to kill Gert Wilders.
I know.
Gert Wilders has had 24 hours a day state protection since this date.
Yeah.
Since this, he's had fatwas from Iran, from Pakistan, from all the major Islamic nations, Saudi, all calling for his murder.
And the last time I was in London, connected me with him, and we had 2 hours together, 3 of us.
Wow.
I was like, how did I get to be in these positions? I said, wow. So it was meeting Lord. So Lord Pearson was having tea with Alan, and Alan said, what about Peter McIlvenna? Great idea. So I get a call from Lord Pearson saying, Peter, are you free this week? I'd like you to come in and have a cup of tea. I want to chat some things with you. Okay. I've probably talked to him on the phone once before. So we go, and he goes, I want you working for me. When can you start? So a couple of conversations, and then I started working for him, and I probably worked for him part-time for 12 years, 13 years. And that's he's such a great person to work for. And of course, he was leader of UKIP later on. He was one of the Maastricht rebels. He read the Maastricht Treaty and was thrown out of the Tory party for opposing further integration in Europe. And he then joined UKIP 2010. He was leader for a year after Nigel had his crash and stepped away. And Lord Pearson was actually Margaret Thatcher's, one of her last appointees in the House of
She
Lords.
gave him his lordship.
Yeah.
She gave him his lordship. For what reason?
For his work in the insurance industry. So he worked for Lloyd's of London, and he was involved in the case, the Savanita affair. And the Savanita affair was where there was a shipment, and the ship went down. And instead of trying to get the cars back, they would just write it off straight away. And he said, no, if something is salvageable, we should do that. It shouldn't just be an automatic write-off. And he lost his case against Lloyd's of London, but the law was changed later to make it different. And Margaret Thatcher saw that, and she said, if you're going to go up against the insurance industry, then I want you in the Lords. He'd done some stuff in education, but I think it was the insurance industry, the Savanita affair. And then he 89, I think, 89, 90, he was put in the Lords. And just to get to know him, he's such a good guy. He's loyal. And I have the relationship. You know the way sometimes you get staffers come into politics and they're there as a dog's body, but actually just connected with him and building that friendship, and it's a good relationship.
And he doesn't care.
Oh, he doesn't care.
He does. I mean, in the sense, he invited me and my children to
Parliament,
and he invited me multiple times. And as I'm walking through Parliament, and MPs and Lords are coming over, because have you met my friend Tommy? Yeah, and their faces are like, what the fuck is Tommy Robinson doing in front of me in Parliament? And he's like, yeah, this is Tommy, we're just going to get some food. And I mean, like, high-ranking MPs.
I remember there was a government minister, he connected you, and I'm thinking, what's happening? What's happening?
Remember mate Tommy? I think he's trolling them at the time because he doesn't care, and he walks off laughing and chuckling.
Such a great attitude.
Yeah, great attitude. But he took my children as well, and he took my children for a tour of Parliament with my family. Yeah, he was a lovely man.
Yeah.
And he's the only man since Winston Churchill stood up in Parliament, spoke openly about Islam. Yeah. No one else has stood in our House of Commons or in Parliament at the 650 MPs. Not one has brought into question a discussion around Islam. Yeah. Not one. We now know why. Look what's happened to Lee Anderson. But not one. And he has continuously been on his own, calling out grooming, asking questions of the government. His phrase was, can we talk about Islam?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a good man.
And the answer is no to that question.
Well, we know that, yeah. But he's pushed that with the government. Well, can we have a discussion on whether this is good for Britain?
And he's got a great 2-pager on Islam,
which
maybe then we'll put on the description on this, because it's available on his Twitter account. And you've got 2 pages, bullet points. These are the main points, and this is the issue, and this is what we need to address. Simple, and obviously the government don't want to address it. So then the last 2, so working with him part-time, then I got to know all the UKIP guys, because I got to be chairman of my local UKIP branch, so for 5 years was that. And then Peter Whittle and David Curtin came to my area, and they met the residents about a planning issue. And I had been involved in bringing them in, met Peter and David twice ever before, so brought them. Then they get elected into the London Assembly, which is where little Sadiq Khan has his empire. You got 25 assembly members that run London, and 2 of them got in for UKIP. And they get in, and then I get a call from Peter, and says, Peter, would like you, do you want to come in for a cup of tea? Would like to have a chat with you. All these things happen over a cup of tea, dangerous. But so I go in and they say, we want you working here full time. Can you start? I said, well,
is that for UKIP?
That was for UKIP.
For UKIP in the London Assembly.
As a senior researcher to the 2 UKIP members in the London Assembly. And I said, well, I'm working part-time for Lord Pearson, and I'm doing something else part-time. And they said, okay, you can work part-time. How many hours can you work, and we'll take that. So I started working for them for 2.5 years.
What does that involve? When you say senior researcher, what are you researching for them?
So everything and anything. You're looking at, okay, what do UKIP stand for the first time they got elected in London? So how does a UKIP presence affect what happens in London? How does it connect with the councils? What policies would we like to propose? So it's drafting papers, putting policy documents together, seeing what the other parties are coming out with to see how they can respond. So there's like a mayor's question time, like Prime Minister's question time. So you're looking, okay, these are the questions. I think these should be your responses. So we discuss them to make sure they can put a UKIP perspective into the London Assembly. So that was 2.5 years. But actually, there's a story on that. So I got in, all good, and I had done a church roadshow before called Can We Talk About Islam with Alan. So we did it for 2 years. We went around church talking about Islam.
Well, how are you received in churches doing that?
So we approached churches and they said, actually would like to learn. We went and we did like either a 30-minute slot in a church service, or actually we did a Saturday like morning session.
With the congregation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just for free. We just go. We got it funded elsewhere.
It's good to know that even these things are going on.
Yeah, so that was going on. But so I applied for City Hall. They want me on board. It's then blocked and vetoed, and it's rejected by City Hall.
Why?
Because I am too vocal on Islam. So the diversity officer blocks it and flags me for having a viewpoint that doesn't fit into City Hall. So Peter Whittle was, I'm really sorry, Peter, I think we're going to invite you in and you can meet. So I said, tell tell the guy to phone me. Here's my number, get him to call me, and I'm happy to come in and chat to him. So we called, and I made the distinction time and time again. On a 10-minute call, I said, look, as a Christian, I love everyone, absolutely everyone. My issue with Islam is the ideology, not with the individuals who follow it. And I think most individuals who follow Islam are born into it, don't have a choice, and therefore they can't leave, and they don't understand it. And often they're victims of their circumstances. And there is a massive distinction between the follower of an ideology and the ideology itself. You can critique communism without saying everyone who lives under communism is evil. That's nonsense. So we had a 10-minute conversation. And I said, look, as a Christian, you talk about kind of hate speech and all that. As a Christian, no, I love everyone. That doesn't come into it. So he said, okay, well, if you can put that in an email and specify that, then we'll reconsider your application. So I put it in the email. And I said, look, if there's anything you want me to clarify, let me know and I'll come back to you. So we did that, and then that was accepted. I had to go in, I had to, again, put my position forward to show I wasn't some hate monger, and then I got accepted. But again, I'm not going to accept. I'm not going to accept if someone said, no, you can't do this, because no, that's BS. I want to push back, and I want to put my position.
You didn't bend your knee at all?
No, didn't know.
That's good.
So I didn't have to change what I believe, which I wouldn't do. I just had to say, look, you misunderstand. This is the situation. And it's okay, that's fine. So that was 2.5 years in City Hall, and then
what do you think what Peter Whittle are doing now? The new show.
So
it's good.
Peter's doing a great job in New Culture Forum.
Yeah, they're doing very well.
Really, he's got a great setup there. I've been there quite a few times, and I probably bump into Peter every 3-4 months. And he's a good guy.
I think their new setup is very professional. The more people that are discussing the relevant issues around our culture, the more it's important.
Yeah.
It's good.
No, it's brilliant. And then I got asked by Gerard. He said, Peter, I'd like you to become the national campaign manager for UKIP. I said, what? So come on, let's have a chat. So I went in, and we had a chat, and he said, look, you understand the issues. You've been UKIP member 3 years, 4 years, whatever, chairman of your branch. You work in City Hall, you understand the local government side. I want you on. And that was the year 2019. We had the European elections in May and the local elections a couple of months later, or vice versa. So I was there for 6 months overseeing both campaigns, the European Parliament and the local elections. And that was the time the Brexit Party started. And some of the conversations in the office were interesting.
Such as?
So it's because no one believed Nigel would actually go for it and start a new party. And then he did. And the name was genius. It does what it says in the tin, is the Brexit Party. And then UKIP were decimated, in effect, and they were successful. A lot of that was down to Gerard wanting to have a conversation on Islam. When a political party, UKIP is probably the only political party in the world that's ever had one issue and achieved it, and then you don't know what to do. So whenever we did that, Gerard wanted to turn UKIP into a populist party. Yeah. Obviously brought you on board.
How big did his membership go?
Under Gerard it was 35,000. It's now probably, I don't know, a few hundred.
No, he tripled it, saying.
Yeah.
When he took over and when he started working with working class communities and talking about these issues, the membership went boom.
Well, no one else.
It started flying. Then it seems like it was actively targeted.
Well, exactly. And was it sabotaged on purpose?
Was it?
I would say probably yes, but I can't put my finger on it.
Can you explain what happened? The NEC voted. So Gerard's leading. Gerard Batten takes over. He takes the party in a new direction, starts talking about Islam. He triples the membership, or even more than that. So the membership's flying through the roof, which is what every political party would want.
Yep.
And then the NEC, which was, I'd say, establishment run, then removed him as leader. Am I right? Well, Nigel Farage.
Well, so you get the Brexit Party started, and then you've got lots, and I will never criticise Nigel in public, because without him we would not have Brexit. So he deserves all the credit that he gets for that. I would prefer if he understood and engaged in the other issues more, but...
Is he starting to now?
I don't know, because
As the mood shifted, someone who never spoke about these things,
yeah, I know.
now seems to be starting to talk about them.
Well, I think it's immigration with a little touch on
He won't talk about Islam.
but no, because it's dangerous.
Yeah, he won't talk about Islam.
We're stupid enough to talk about Islam. Others are wiser enough not to.
Someone's got to shift it.
I know. So, and he doesn't. You don't need to talk about everything. I think that he's got enough on his plate, and he is a fantastic media performer. He is well liked. I mean, there are only two people I've ever walked through in the UK at any time that have had a level of adoration and the public non-stop coming, and that's him and you. And you just every 20 seconds someone else is coming up wanting a picture, wanting to talk, and it's exactly the same situation, although you're very different in your approach, background, everything. But Nigel won't, and that's fine. He's because of what he has done. I
even think at the time I was so angry at the time when he called us far right.
Thugs and knuckle drug, whatever.
Thugs, yeah. At the time, right? But then in hindsight, if you look at what he done with the Brexit Party, he managed to mainstream the Brexit Party in the sense of left-wing voters as well.
Yeah.
He put lots of ex-Labour in positions as well in council. And if, as I said, I speak for 15 years about Islam. He's dedicated his life for 30 years about the European Union.
Yeah.
So I guess he just thought anything that muddies the waters with him getting Brexit, he doesn't care. And maybe and it was the right move in hindsight now looking at it. And it was the right move for Brexit. It was the right move just the distance from UKIP. We got upset at the time. Lots of people got upset at the time. Felt like we were thrown under the bus, but at the same time it achieved for him, the Brexit Party, exactly what he's worked his whole life for.
Oh, exactly. And I remember that day whenever we had a UKIP one and they had a Brexit Party one on the Green. I was like the two. It's like, it's just weird. But yeah, you look back and what Gerard did under UKIP actually changed the conversation to an extent, I think, on Islam. But then Nigel had a different...
I think Gerard was the best politician we've never had.
Oh, yeah. He's so good.
He worked for 20 years in BT, didn't he, if I remember right?
Yeah.
He's a working man, he understands, he's working class, and he's knowledgeable on everything. And I just think it was such a waste.
But the difference, Nigel likes the limelight, and
Gerard didn't
however,
want to do it.
Gerard's the opposite.
We were trying to make him do it. Everyone was trying to convince him to do it.
Oh my goodness. Having Liz Phillips trying to get him, come on.
This was great as well.
So good.
This was brilliant.
So hello, Liz.
I hope you're well. I hope your husband's well too.
And then the last step in life was simply then starting Hearts of Oak, which is where I am now.
And when was that?
That was.
And why was that?
So we launched in Westminster, 20th of February 2020.
Why?
Because we looked at UKIP, and UKIP had achieved its purpose. Lots of us were thrown out of UKIP because so the NEC stopping Gerard from being leader, kicking a lot of us out for backing Gerard. So we met.
They've now gone back on all that as well.
Oh, they've gone back on all that.
They've gone back on all that. Anne-Marie Waters is welcomed in.
It's the weirdest.
I received a message off the top person saying that the open window has shifted, but it's time to talk. It's time to talk. What do you know?
Join 1,000 other people who are a member of a party? What's the point?
You tried to block it. All of you. I just asked a simple question: are the people still involved in the NEC of that movement? Who were responsible for Gerard Barton's removal? Because I would never ever align or have a discussion.
Exactly.
Yeah? I wouldn't do it at Gerard because Gerard had my back massively.
Oh, I know.
Yeah?
I know.
Massively put his neck on the line.
I know.
So I said, if there's anyone involved in UKIP, I would never have anything to do with that party. And then I received a message just 2 weeks ago saying all the people who are involved in Gerard Barton's removal have now been removed from the party.
But there's no one left in the party.
That's probably why. Yeah.
So we come together and you were there at the launch. I remember that fun. Nearly got cancelled.
Okay, yeah, in the church.
Yeah. So.
And that Muslim gentleman, the Muslim gentleman I met in Birmingham, come down for the launch. The one whose house I went to, come down for the launch of Hearts of Oaks, where we spoke about transgenderism, and the reason being, which we said to them, is let's join together, lads. Well, I disagree with Islam wholeheartedly, but on this sexualisation of our kids, we all need to be parents, not separate religions or activists.
But you didn't even touch on Islam. It was about sexualisation of children in schools, and that was the big thing. So yeah, we had that launch in the Emmanuel Centre.
Church.
It's a great church with you, Tayo, was it? And
oh wow! Through the bloke I met there, I then had a meeting with another Chinese bloke, as well, Christians. Okay, so I met. Yeah, it's mad how the meetings go.
Oh, I know.
Meeting more people who are sympathetic or
But on
intelligent on these issues?
No, it's Wale Babatunde, not Tayo. It was Wale Babatunde, who's British Nigerian, and then Catherine Blakelock, founder of the Brexit Party, Carl Benjamin, and you. And then Alan was doing that, and it was so great just to be kind of behind the scenes. Where Alan brought me up for like 2 minutes to say something. I wasn't on the stage, didn't want any of that. And we started that because we wanted a movement that could actually be what UKIP should have been, a populist movement engaging on all these issues under the free speech, especially sexualisation of children, the gender issue, and the clash that Islam has. And those kind of were our focus areas. So we launched that thinking this is going to be an educational organisation all across the country. We'll do mass lobbies of Parliament, we'll do training sessions all over England. And then 2 weeks later, you couldn't leave your front door.
COVID hit, okay.
It's like, oh crap, how have we launched this right 2 weeks before? And we had a mass lobby of Parliament planned, I think it was St. Patrick's Day, Sunday March. And I remember talking to Carl 2 days before, and he goes, it looks like something's happening. It looks like we're going to be restricted movement. So we cancelled that the day before. And then we went online, started doing interviews, and Alan and I did them together. Alan did 95%, I did a couple of percent, and never having done an interview in my life, and just sitting there, him taking the lead with guests, and me just kind of chirping in and out. You were one of our first guests, Katie Hopkins was there for one of the first guests, Carl, and just building on that. And then Alan stepped down, he retired the end of 2020, and then suddenly, I've got to drive this thing.
But that's what means you've gone from behind the camera and a bit of a fixer, behind the scenes working for the people whose faces are out there, to now running your own show, and you interview a massive variety of people.
It's been crazy. We've now done 210 different guests, probably getting near 550 interviews, and I just look back at the names.
You've got some big high-ranking names.
We have lots. Colonel Alan West, getting to know him and having him on. Steve Bannon been on twice. Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, had him on.
Wow.
Talking about one of his books on racial harmony. James O'Keefe had him on. Alex Jones 6 months ago. Oh, that's just surreal. You're just saying, holy crap, I'm sitting talking. And he was 45 minutes late. And
Alex.
I know, and I'm having Lilani on. Yeah, have you met Lani Dowding?
No.
Oh, she's so good. She used to do Mark Stein on his show.
Mark Stein's so good.
So she's on the cruise at the moment, the Mark Stein cruise. Yeah. She's so good.
I see some of her videos about flowers and that.
I know, flowers, painting horses.
Painting horses, doing horse boxes.
So
I sound like a weirdo now.
Probably watches it all. But so she was actually waiting because I was doing a live with her, and then Alex is late, and then I said, right, let's do it. So we do it, and like 28 minutes in, I said, well, Alex, just last question. And no, you've got already. Last question? No, let's keep going. I kept you waiting. Let's just go. So we did like nearly 40 minutes, and then it finishes, and I'm thinking, what was that? It's like probably. Tucker talked about after he interviewed Putin, and that little video we just did after saying, what was that? That's going to take me a year to process what just happened there.
Alex's.
And I'm exactly the same, having Alex Jones on, thinking, oh my word, what just happened? So, but we've had Tom Fitton, who Judicial Watch, one of the biggest conservative organisations in the States, had him on, and it just goes on and on, some phenomenal guests.
And from there, you've ended up running your own show for Steve Bannon, have you?
That's Chris. So, been on Warren like 20 times, and that was Jason Miller. Shout out to Jason Miller for connecting me with Steve Bannon, because when it was over...
Jason Miller's the ex-CEO of Getter, now the main campaign management for
senior advisor to Trump.
Trump 2024.
And was 2020 and was 2016. So he's known Trump for 15 years.
Wow, man.
But so I go over and meet up Jason because I worked for Getter for a year, and that was April 2020. And Jason said, hey Peter, you want to meet Steve Bannon? I said, yes. Why do you need to ask? He said, you want to go on War Room? Yes. I goes, okay, tomorrow 10:30, so I'll see you there and you'll go on. So I meet him there, I go on with Bannon, it gets on fine, he wants to know UK politics, and then I go over in June again, and the same thing happens. Jason says, hey, you want to be on War Room again? Yeah. So, and Jason is there. And that was twice, and then been on 20 times and built up that relationship myself. And then in October last year, got to know Grace Chung, who's the CFO of War Room, and she streamed a Joe Allen. Joe Allen, have you met Joe Allen? He's their transhuman editor, does AI, Dark Eon, great book on AI, Dark Eon. Joe Allen, great book. But so they streamed him because he works for War Room. And then I messaged Grace, like, Grace, I've got Colonel Alan West on Thursday. That fits in War Room. Do you want to stream that? In fact, why don't you look at streaming all our programs? And she goes, let's do it. That was easy. So they now stream our shows Monday, Thursday, and Saturday evenings on War Room, Rumble, and Getter. And that, I mean, just our Saturday show, who do I have on? I can't remember who I had on Saturday, but it's had, Connor Tomlinson from Lotus Eaters,
Okay, yeah.
who's I'm interviewing Connor on Saturday and doing the news review. So that the Saturdays had 110,000 on Rumble, and then Getter's another 35,000, and then we've got our 25, 30,000, so all together. But it's just getting to meet these people and streaming there, and anything I sent to Steve, he'll stream. I was over in Bucharest for the ICS, International COVID Summit.
Do you think he'll stream our new film that's coming out?
I don't see why not. I mean, Ban is up for anything. He's like that gung ho
Tell
attitude.
him that this new film is going to expose the two-tier policing and the corruption of the British establishments and the judiciary, and the way the judiciary is weaponised.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, if
coming
you
out pretty soon.
so with Steve, if you give him a good product, if you give him a reason, then he'll go for it. You don't need to persuade him. He knows the media space so well. He knows the political space so well, and he sees something that's good, and he says, "Yeah, let's go for it." So yeah. Yeah.
So, and then you met Donald Trump.
I met Donald Trump. That
Come
was
on, Pete.
surreal. So,
You landed on your feet.
so I had lunch with Jason Miller. Good catch up.
In the United States, you're in the United States.
So yeah, so
You're
just
there quite regularly now, no?
8 or 9 times the last 2 years.
How come?
So as Hearts of Oak has grown, we've probably got 40%, 45% US guests, 50%, 45% UK, and then 10% all over. So Avi from Australia, Malcolm Roberts, Australia. So I wanted to go over and connect to people. Nothing beats seeing people face to face.
Yeah, I don't like the online podcast.
No.
I don't think you get the same connection.
No.
I always say, no, I'll travel, I'll sit with you.
I know. So
It's far better.
I really wanted to go over, and then did like 9 cities in like 2 weeks in April 2020. Went up, saw Ezra, saw Bjorn, and then all over. And those 2 trips April and June meant that I got to meet Steve Bannon and all that connection. And then went to American Freedom Alliance, Fred and I, Karen Sigmund over to LA, and got a whole connection there. And yeah, you sit with someone for an hour and you can make it happen. With Steve Bannon, you sit with him for 10 minutes and it's done. You know, no end of messaging, because these people are busy and they can't, they're always on their phones, always communicating. If you can actually just get their time, sit with them, then you can make things happen. So because of that, and then the last trip over for 2 weeks, went up to National Rifle Association, 15 halls. A friend invited me who's one of their big sponsors, and he said, come on up to NRA in Pennsylvania. So I went up, saw these crazy gun show. I was like, wow. And then met Jason Miller for lunch, and he said, well, if you get down to South Carolina, Trump's there speaking at a rally. Okay, I'll be there. How far is that? 8.5 hours? Okay, I'll be there. So drove down, everything was pre-cleared, and you go in and it's like 10,000 in the, and it was South Carolina, obviously, with the primaries. Poor Nikki Haley thinking she did have a chance. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But down, got in, Jason came over, hey Peter, great to see you, blah, blah. He goes, I'll give you an intro to Trump whenever you get in the line, or to the president. So I'm there, there are like 15 of us in the line behind, and we go in, and then you go and think, crap, it is Donald Trump. It's the Donald. It's the president. It's Putin. Holy crap. So you go in, and then Jason comes around, Mr. President, this is Peter McIlvenna. I've known him for years, used to work together. He is one of the most influential podcasts in the UK, and he's a massive supporter of yours, just like Nigel Farage. And I said, oh, really? So tell me. So we chatted for like 30 seconds. You get your picture, thumbs up, and you go. And you're sitting thinking, wow, what was that? I just met the most powerful man in the world. But yeah.
Does he win 2024? Do they let him?
Oh, so.
Will he survive it?
So the polls say yes, he'll win. But he knows too much. He will expose too much. He's going into this with his eyes open. 2016, he went in completely different.
Yeah, now he's got to go in aggressive.
I know.
If he wins, he's got to go in and finish him.
So do they? They've got.
He can't sit. He can't. Yeah, he's got to finish him.
Yeah, and I think I read somewhere there are 900 charges against him in all different states.
Against Trump.
Multiple. Yeah, that's not working. That makes him more successful. So what do they do? And then you put your head in not Biden's mind, 'cause he doesn't have a mind, but whoever else is controlling it, whether it's Obama or whoever. I think, what do they need? If it's Biden against Trump, then Trump wins. I think that's the border of the economy.
Is it going to be Michelle Obama against Trump?
I'm halfway down that rabbit hole now. I am. Because it's Gavin Newsom, is it? No, I don't think he's got a chance. If Trump runs against Biden and Biden wins, Biden doesn't serve a term, so Kamala Harris gets dropped in, but no one likes Kamala Harris or wants her. So she's not a good backup, so they need to have someone else in at the top, because easier to place.
How devastating that a country the size of the United States has no one.
I know.
The Democrats.
I know.
They can even put up.
It's
winnable or even likeable.
I think I can see Michelle Obama being put in and her winning, because she's a superstar.
How is she a superstar? She's a geezer. How is she a superstar? Like, it's the biggest lie ever told. How is it a superstar?
But the name, it covers it covers everything. Yeah. Entertainment, politics, very few transcend that across the way. And Trump is one. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone knows who Michelle Obama is. I think because of that, I mean, she's never done anything political in her life, no. But she ticks all the boxes. And name recognition. I can see that happening. And it's scary, because if Trump is not put in...
LGBT
well,
box.
I don't know what letter she ticks on that rainbow spectrum. But I think this is literally, I think, the most important election for America.
And for us.
And for us.
For the world.
That we've ever known.
For the world, in the sense of, look what's happened in the 4 years since Donald Trump's gone.
I agree.
Look at the economy worldwide, look at the violence worldwide, look at the wars worldwide, peace, there's nothing. Yep. The money laundering campaign in Ukraine wouldn't be going on if it wasn't for the stealing of the election, all these different things, but okay.
So if he gets in, then there's a chance to push back. But I think the deep state will not let him get in. But look, whatever industry, he's in politics, we're in media, we're all in different areas, and you do the best you can do within the sphere you have, and you want to make a difference. And he's going to go for it, and he's going to do all he can do to win. And his machine is so well organised, much better than before, much better. This is a well-oiled, planned machine that actually can get him in the White House if they let an election run as it should run.
It's fair. Where will you be, Peter? What's the future for you? What's your plans?
I'll be there on election day.
You'll be there next year.
100% one. I was talking to Calvin about this.
Yeah.
Another one of your great guests.
Calvin Robertson, brilliant, man.
And Calvin is going to be with us at our event.
Tell me about your event. You're now hosting the idea of these free speech sort of discussion events, is it?
So Hold the Line, Challenge the Narrative was kind of a phrase. And David Vance and I had a conversation, lots of conversations about what could we do. We thought,
David does good work.
He's a great guy. We get on so well together, bounce ideas off each other. And we discussed, let's do a public event. There aren't many of them in the UK. I mean...
Well, not on our side of politics.
No, but David Icke does a few events.
Yeah.
You've got Lotus Eaters have done some live events. Katie Hopkins does her thing. James Delingpole does Delingpole Live. And that's maybe it. There isn't really anything else. So we thought, let's do something. So we did one in December with Andrew Bridgen MP and Carl Benjamin. that was great. So politics and media coming together, and then we're doing another one this time with Calvin Robinson. And
When's this one with Calvin? It's on the 1st, isn't it? 1st of March.
on the 1st of March, Calvin and Loza.
And Lawrence Fox.
And again, that's a connection of media, of politics, because Loza brings, but
church.
then church, because Father Calvin Robinson.
I think he's brilliant.
He's so good. And it gets, every time I see him, it gets better and better. And I think he's going to hold back, and he doesn't. And then huge respect to him for doing the show with you.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid.
No. No, he's not afraid because it's the God thing.
Yep.
He's not afraid because of the God thing.
See, if God is with you.
Yeah, he wasn't bothered about losing his job.
I know.
Those sort of things, when you have such a deep belief, which is what I took from talking to
Yeah.
when you have such a deep belief in something, you don't worry about the consequence.
If you have God with you, I think you can do anything because you've got absolute confidence. And you know whatever happens, even if you are destroyed, God will have his way, and there's something in that. And when you've got that absolute trust that God is watching over and he has a plan, and it's according to his plan and not yours, and therefore it takes the stress away, because it's not, can I do this, can I do this? Actually, I'm going to do my best, and then you give that to God, and he can make it happen. It makes life a hell of a lot easier, but it's not just a crutch, it's the only way I can explain and describe the world, the complexity of the world. There's no other way of describing it than you have an intelligent designer, a God that made it. Because anything else, luck and chance, I can't accept that.
You, so your future, Peter, is going to be?
I've kind of kept getting dropped into things. I didn't plan the politics, that just happened. I kind of came to church, 9/11 happened, so what am I going to do? Okay, I like this church, let's get involved in that. Then politics, I get dropped into that. So it's church, politics and media, kind of 3 stages. Loving the media, just such good fun. And I love connecting with people, it's good fun. Like-minded people all across the world, this crazy network that I've built up, and it's fun. And most of the people, probably 2/3 of people I have on, I'll message fairly regularly, back and forward, and get their input. So it's doing that, and then as a Christian, I'm sitting back thinking, God, what do you want to do with this? Where's this going? I'm not driving this. I don't know who's driving this. It's going somewhere. And what can I do with this to actually be a positive impact in society? Because that's what it's all about. Politics is about winning people over, persuading people, having a better way of life. And the media is about educating people and trying to show people this is how we can live together. This is a better way of doing life together, because this is all we have. This is our lives, and there's no alternative for plan B. This is it. So if we can make it better and positive for society, and then when you bring in, when you have kids as well, you think actually how they impact, so it's the next generation.
Do you worry about your kids now?
Huh?
Have you got kids?
Yeah.
Do you worry from as a? You
Oh, 2 boys. I worry.
You're in London.
Yeah.
So you're in London. 2 young boys. You worried for their future?
Yes, and then you wonder what you do in that, because again, we live somewhere. We live in a flat. We don't have, you talk to US friends and they say, oh, you just move, it's not that easy. You just can't, if you've got a pile of cash, you can do it. Yeah. But we don't. Therefore, you have to use the resources you have. And then it's a family discussion. So of course you worry about them, but it's, you put in them the ideals that will help them stand on their own 2 feet. And whether it's a woke onslaught or you go back a generation and it's whatever else, they need to stand on their own 2 feet. And they see me talking about all the issues, so they understand the whole gender issue, they understand Islam, they understand what it means to be a Christian society, and how you love your neighbour, but you stand your ground. And
that's what Christians are forgetting.
They love their neighbour and they bend and they collapse.
Stand their ground.
But loving your neighbour means speaking truth. And if that means you're a Muslim, you're following Islam, that's not correct. And I want to show you something. So opposing someone's belief system, but doing it in love, that's how it should be, presenting truth. Because if you actually love someone, you want to give them truth. You don't want them to live a lie. And if someone is caught up in a screwed up trans lifestyle or LGBT or all the stuff that happens, you want actually to say, actually, you've got issues. I'd like to help you through your issues so you actually can come out and live a better life, because you've had confusion in your life which has led you down that, and you haven't had a foundation of what is right, what is wrong. And if you can bring that, so that's media, educating the public. We'll continue doing what we're doing, and who knows what opportunities will lie in the way. So yeah.
Enjoyed the discussion, Peter. I've enjoyed the discussion.
All through my life.
Thank you very much. All through your life. And that's been a trip down memory lane for me. So I hope you've enjoyed it. And I also want to thank you. You give me the opportunity to sit here and have these discussions. I really enjoy them. I hope you learn things. I hope it challenges your ideas. I hope it gives you knowledge about certain things and hope. Because the church, that's the one thing I took back then. I was like, the church are active. But yeah, thank you for joining me on that podcast. Sign up to my Rumble, subscribe to it, share this content. Peter, where can people follow you?
heartsofoak.org or at heartsofoak on any of the Gab, on Getter, on at heartsofoak UK on Twitter. The only thing we get confused with the Ghanaian football team, which is Hearts of Oak, which you didn't know.
Yours what?
Ghanaian football team.
Cool,
so I've now learned about Ghanaian football because we keep getting tagged into these things. What is this? This isn't Carl Benjamin, this isn't Tommy, this is a Ghanaian football team. So yeah, they're not doing too well, which I'm sad about.
Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Cheers.
Carry on watching for more interesting guests. I'll talk to anyone. I'll debate anyone. I'll hear anyone's story. If you want to help me along that way, it's not free. I need your support. If you can support my family, that gives me my peace of mind. It means I can continue to do the work I do. You can do so at www.supporttommy.com. I appreciate every bit of support, as do my children. It gives me the ability to fly them out here to see me so I can stay in constant contact with them. I'm deplatformed and I'm censored, so I need you. I need you to share this content. Make sure you stay tuned for upcoming weekly guests, interesting guests, exciting guests. I'm Tom Robson, and this has been my podcast, Silence.